Success is supposed to feel good, right? So, why do so many of us high achievers push ourselves to exhaustion? We chase goals that don't actually fulfill us, and then we're constantly battling fear and self doubt within ourselves as well. The truth is that most of us are operating under outdated myths about success and ambition. Stories that we have been told by our families, by mentors, by teachers, by society about what it takes to make it. We've been taught that success requires sacrifice, that there's only one right way to achieve it, that we have to eliminate fear before we take action, that success alone is going to bring us all of the fulfillment and joy and purpose that we need in our life. And all of that are lies. All of it. Here's the thing. All of these things are myths. And we hold on to them, even though they're not for us and they're keeping us stuck. They're keeping us from the lives, the careers, the businesses, the legacies that we actually crave. In today's episode of Big Goal Energy, we are going to dismantle these myths one by one. We are going to break them all apart like we're going to a big old rage room. And then we're going to replace them with new, more empowering truths. Truths that actually allow us to achieve at our highest levels, peak performance without burnout, healthy relationship with fear, and knowing that whatever we decide to put our energy, our heart, our truth behind is enough. And if you're ready to go even deeper after this episode, I am going to give you a powerful tool to help you rewire these beliefs at a subconscious level permanently, so that you can step into the successes, goals, the visions, everything that you crave on your terms in under 30 days. I'm Bree Seeley, your hostess for Big Goal Energy. Come with me as we dive into breaking a whole bunch of myths today so that you can achieve the success that you most crave in your life and business.
I can tell you've got big goal energy. Are you ready to turn your wildest dreams into your everyday reality? You are in the right place. Welcome to Big Goal Energy, the podcast that helps you turn your audacious and delusional dreams into your everyday life. We know that you don't settle for the ordinary, that you have dreams which others may deem unrealistic. But here, we help you defy reality and bring those dreams to life. Each episode of Big Goal Energy empowers you with knowledge, inspiration, and mentorship to conquer your most unrealistic goals. From transparent roundtable conversations to short-form episodes, you'll hear the experiences of women who have defied reality, as well as learn practical tips and strategies to fuel your journey. Join us by subscribing to Big Goal Energy, and together we'll turn your audacious dreams into remarkable achievements.
Hello, Big Goal Energy. So excited to be with you today. We are going to be exploring some common myths around success, around failure, around ambition, around sacrifice. And if you listened to last week's episode, the reason that I'm doing this is because just like that client that I highlighted in last week's episode, if we're living by rules to a game that we're no longer playing, we're literally putting up invisible barriers that prevent us from actually doing what we want to do. We're going to break down 5 myths today, and then we're going to look at what you need to replace it with, the stories, the narratives, the truths that you need to live by so that you can break down all of those invisible barriers and actually give yourself permission to go towards your big goals and, feel great while you're doing it. So let's dive into myth 1. The first myth is that success requires sacrifice. We've seen these narratives all over TV shows, movies, the media, all this stuff, that if you want to be a top level executive, if you want to be a booked and busy CEO, that you cannot have great relationships, you have to sacrifice your well-being, you need to have all sorts of vices just to keep you going, and you're going to be burnt out all the time. This is a lie. You're going to hear me say that a lot on this episode. This is a lie. Success in and of itself does not demand burnout. It does not demand you to neglect your relationships, and it does not demand you to sacrifice your well-being. Now, depending on what your goals are, You need to design and build a life where all of it works. That's not to say that you're going to be 100% in every single area of your life all the time, but it is to say that your relationships don't have to go down to a zero in order for your business or your career to be at a 10, right? Your well being doesn't have to be at a 1 in order for your career and your business to be at a 10. I'm not sure why this narrative got placed into our society. I mean, okay, maybe I am a little bit, but we are not going to get into that today. What we want to replace this lie with is that success should be sustainable. It should be aligned and it should actually be life enhancing. Here's one of the things I see a lot with people is that if their business or career success is going up, their life enhancement is going down. And the truth is, we actually want both of those meters to be rising in equal measure. They should be rising proportionately. If your success is going up, your life enhancement should be going up. And the way that we do that is by building sustainable and aligned businesses, careers, lives, relationships, well-being, etc. You've probably heard me say this before, but I see all of this like a big puzzle. And in order for all of the pieces to work and actually create the picture that you want to be living, all of the pieces have to fit together and they all have to be from the same puzzle. I'm a master puzzler and I opened up a puzzle box the other day and there was a piece in the puzzle box that didn't go to that puzzle. Did I spend hours trying to fit that piece into the puzzle that it didn't belong in? No. I put it back in the cabinet and was like, well, whenever I figure out what puzzle this goes to, this will go back in the box that it belongs in, but it doesn't belong in this box. If you have a piece of the puzzle right now that is in your picture that doesn't belong there, it is up to you to get rid of it. If that piece of the puzzle that doesn't belong there for you is burnout or neglecting relationships or sacrificing your well-being, you have permission to take that puzzle piece, throw it in the garbage. Don't put it in the cabinet. Throw it in the garbage. Success is meant to be sustainable. It is meant to be life enhancing. It is meant to feel good. Let's move on to myth number 2. I love this one. Success is one size fits all. Everyone needs to be going after the same blueprint for success. This is so much bullshit. I know it's really common when we're growing up. We see like, oh, well, if I just have a 6-figure salary and a car and a house and a white picket fence and 2.5 children and all of this stuff, then I'll be successful. I cannot count for you how many women I have worked with and spoken to that have all aimed for that vision of success, all gotten there, looked around and been like, this is it. This doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel like I thought it was going to feel. And that's because there is no one size fits all. It's a lie. There is no universal blueprint for success. What you want to replace this myth with is success is personal and I owe it to myself to figure out what that means. Now, this definition may change as you change. So it's really, really, really important to be in relationship with your definition of success. This is not a set it and forget it thing. This is I've changed, I've evolved. Now, how does my definition of success change and evolve with me? A lot of you listening right now know that I relocated from Manhattan to Tulsa, Oklahoma during the pandemic. And Tulsa, Oklahoma was not my personal definition of success. In fact, Manhattan was my personal definition of success, and it had been for 35 years. I moved to Tulsa holding on to this definition that success was living in Manhattan, and then I wasn't living in Manhattan. It was a problem. There was dissonance there, right? So I had to redefine, I had to revisit my relationship with success to say, okay, this was important to young Bree, 5-year-old Bree, 10-year-old Bree, 15-year-old Bree, hell, 35-year-old Bree. Is this still an important element of my success? Or can I live anywhere and do what I want anywhere and enjoy a completely different lifestyle here with now 4 years later, my husband, and experience success on a different level? Now, the journey that I've had, I know no one else that has had my journey. There is no one size fits all. Last thing on this, I want to say, y'all know I was a fashion designer. People still come to me and say, Brie, I just need you to take me shopping because I can't find anything on the racks that fits me and fits me well. And I say to them every single time, you do not need me to take you shopping. What you need is a good tailor. The sizing of our clothes is meant to fit most people that are of that size. However, if your proportions are different than the proportions that they use to craft the pattern in the first place, it's not going to fit you. Nothing is going to fit you, which means that instead of this idea that I'm going to be able to grab this blueprint and it's just going to fit me, again, is a complete, total, utter lie. In this vein of success, we don't want to grab something off the rack and assume that it's going to fit us. What we need, we can take that as a starting point, but then we need to take that to a tailor and say, I have different proportions. One leg is longer than the other leg. Please help me refine this to fit my body. It's the exact same process that you have to go through for your definition of success. Myth 3. Ooh, this is one of my favorites. You have to eliminate fear to succeed. I can't tell you how many times people have said to me like, oh, you're just so fearless. You do all of these things. You've moved all over the world. You've started all these businesses. You've done all these things. You must be fearless. Fear is actually a natural experience. And waiting to be fearless is keeping you stuck. So I talk about all the time, I am not fearless. What I have done is cultivated a very beautiful relationship with my fear. Now, a lot of people experience fear and back off and say, this is not for me. I experience fear and I say, oh, interesting. Why is this emotion coming up for me right now? Oftentimes, it's because whatever I'm going up against is outside my comfort zone. Because it's outside my comfort zone, fear is the natural response to that. Fear is designed to keep us safe. It's designed to keep us in our comfort zone so that we don't do something that will harm us. So oftentimes, if I'm experiencing fear, it's like, oh, I must be expanding right now. When I invest in working with new coaches, fear always comes up. I just bought a car last weekend and I'm sitting in the car saying to myself, I know that I have nothing to be afraid of right now. And yet my brain is like, what if you never get another client ever again? What proof do we have of that? I'm about to celebrate 10 years in business. Does my brain have a reason to say you're never going to get another client ever again? Actually, on the contrary, I'm about to sign my biggest client who is enrolling at double the amount that I've ever charged a private client before. When we step back and say, why is this coming up for me right now? It helps us build a healthy relationship with fear rather than just throwing fear the keys and being like, okay, I'm done. You drive. I'm good. I'm good. Success comes as a result of taking action despite fear. It's about linking arms with that fear and saying, I know you're really scared right now. I know that this step that I'm about to take feels really big, but I promise, got you. I've got us. We're gonna be okay. And regardless, if this action turns out exactly like I think it's going to, or not, or better, we are going to be okay. High achievers embrace fear when they're going after their big, big goals. We're going to take just a quick break. I have a free resource for you. And then we're going to come back. I'm going to give you the last 2 myths and then a resource for you to help you overcome a lot of these narratives in your life.
Pardon this quick interruption. One of the biggest challenges ambitious entrepreneurs face is closing the gap between where they are and their big, big goal. I've created a resource for you that will help you navigate the journey more easily. Defy Reality, the female entrepreneur's guide to achieving her audaciously ambitious goals, will guide you through a process to 110% claim the inevitability of your big delusional goal, banish your doubts, and identify the exact steps you need to take to defy reality. Visit breesealy.com/free to get immediate access to this tool that will help you stop wasting your time so you can start defying reality. And now, back to your episode.
Oh, hello. Welcome back. Okay, let's dive into myth 4. Success automatically leads to fulfillment. Now, here's what's so interesting about this. We can rack up accolade after accolade after accolade after accolade and still look at our lives and be like, I'm not happy. I'm not fulfilled. Success doesn't lead to fulfillment. Fulfillment leads to success. If we are always waiting for external circumstances to guarantee us internal happiness, it's going to be a long, cold, miserable road. We start with the internal happiness. We start with the fulfillment. And when we have that as a baseline, success gets to be the whipped cream and the cherry on top of an already delicious sundae. But if we don't have a baseline and our sundae dish is empty and we're trying to fill it with all these outer things, and maybe we get a success one day but not the next day, then we're riding that roller coaster of I'm successful, I'm a failure. I'm successful, I'm a failure, because we are waiting for external things to tell us who the fuck we are. And I don't know about you, I just got a new bracelet, this one right here, and it says, remember who the fuck you are. My external success happens as a result of my internal fulfillment and happiness. And when we can do that, we develop way more resiliency in our journeys. Because then if something doesn't go the way we want it to go, it doesn't derail us because we're already good. We've already got a baseline within us. When we have that baseline, then we get to say, oh, okay, that didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. And how do I pivot? How do I take the next step? How do I keep going? Because I feel fucking great and I'm ready to achieve this big goal I have. I don't need to wait for external markers to tell me that I'm successful with this. I need to have that baseline happiness and fulfillment as my internal guidance and let myself continue showing up in that state, taking steps, and that external success is going to come. The inner leads to the outer, not the other way around. All right, final myth, myth 5. Failure is the opposite of success. Oh, this one's so good too. We think that it's an either or. Either I succeeded or I failed. What I've found is really interesting, especially in the last 10 years of running this business, is that the failure success conversation is not an either or conversation. It's a spectrum conversation. So it's not 100% success and 0% failure, or 100% failure and 0% success. Most of the experiences we have lie somewhere in the middle. Maybe it was a 70% failure and a 30% success, or a 50-50, or an 80-20. Because when we go into this place where this was 100% failure and a 0% success, it really limits our ability to then move into our next steps or our next phases. When I shut down my fashion business, that's immediately where I went. Even though I knew that I was being guided, that my steps were actually in alignment, that I was being called to make a change that would bring me the happiness and fulfillment that I was looking for. When we are at a 100% failure point and we're trying to get to a 100% success point, that is a big gap. So what I did was I started looking at all of the areas where, yes, could I have done better in that business? There are absolutely things that I could have done better at. But even that learning in and of itself meant that it wasn't a failure. There were also a lot of things that I did really fucking well in that business. And I was able to recognize, like, wow, I got a lot of press placements. I dressed celebrities. I sold to some of the largest e-commerce platforms that exist in our country. And I did all of that mostly without help. I built all my own websites. I did all my own bookkeeping. All of the business skills that I gained in that business over the course of 8 years are what has allowed me to be in this business for 10 years, helping other women build multiple 6 and 7 figure businesses for themselves. So if I were to look at that experience and just write it off as a failure, that would completely negate a huge part of my journey that has been the stepping stone for me to get to this point and for me to continue building and growing this business even after my 10-year birthday mark. Heyo. I even saw the guy who launched Dollar Per Month Shave Club talks about this as well. I saw an interview with him years and years and years ago as I was getting ready to write my book, Permission to Leap. And he talked about how he had a business prior to that that ended terribly. It was a huge failure. And if he hadn't done that business, Dollar Per Month Shave Club would not exist. I want you to start thinking about this failure success again as more of a spectrum and as less of a black and white yes or no, 100% failure or 100% success. It's failure and success, the power of the and. It is both. Give yourself permission to look back at your failures and see what were the successes within that failure and how were they data points for me to continue stepping through my journey. The problem with a lot of these myths and these beliefs is that oftentimes they are deeply ingrained in our subconscious. Now, if you know anything about the brain, you know that on average, your conscious mind is only about 5% of what you can access of your brain on any given day. That means 95% of your brain you cannot access consciously. All these myths that we just talked about, if there was one where you were like, you were preaching to the choir, there's a very strong likelihood that that belief has been ingrained in you for multiple decades. And if that is the case, it is very likely in your subconscious. Personally, I use hypnotherapy to get into my subconscious to be able to shift those narratives and shift those patternings. I like to think of our brains as like multiple superhighways, the number of neurons and pathways and things moving through our brains at all times, the amount of information it processes is so immense that if we can only access 5% of that, we are trying to deploy an atomic bomb, but really we're just throwing one of those like little popper things that you throw at the 4th of July that just goes, right? Very, very, very different. So if you want to make some strides on a subconscious level with some of these myths so that you can move forward and remove those invisible barriers that we were talking about earlier, I'm going to be launching some 30-day hypnosis programs to help you clear out these beliefs so that you can program your mind for sustainable success. The way I like to think about this is you click update on your iOS system, on your operating system, on your laptop, on your phone, on all your devices all the time. You're constantly upgrading the operating system. But when is the last time you upgraded the operating system to your mind? These 30-day hypnosis programs are not only going to help you do that, they're going to give you accountability for 30 days. I'm going to be in your inbox checking in with you for 30 days to help you make these shifts, because for ambitious individuals with big goals, it is just so, so, so important for us to have tools that we can use to clear these things within ourselves and really truly upgrade our operating system so that we can move more quickly towards our goals. So these are not released yet. I'm giving you kind of like an early preview of what is coming. If you would like access to these prior to them being released, early access with some special discounts, go to breesealy.com/hypnosis and you can sign up to be notified when we release these programs. In closing, I just want to encourage you to reflect on which of these myths that you've been carrying and living by. And I want to invite you to take this as an opportunity to put it down, to let it go, to walk away. Let's use this as a moment where we hit the reset button and say, I don't want those. I don't want those to control me anymore. I don't want those to set my trajectory. I don't want those to be invisible barriers that I just can't see. This is an invitation for you to take the next step in truly upgrading your operating system. So you can go to breesealy.com/hypnosis. Also, don't forget to visit breesealy.com/community and get access to over 1,000 amazing women who are big goal energy women Thank you for joining me for this episode of Big Goal Energy. Make sure you're subscribed. Feel free to send this episode to a friend who might need it. Big hugs, and I will see you all on next week's episode.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Big Goal Energy. We trust that it fueled your ambition and made you feel seen. We are a community of ambitious female entrepreneurs like you. Come join us in the Big Goal Energy community by visiting breesealy.com/community. In the meantime, send your questions for us to cover in the episodes to info@breesealy.com. Together, we'll turn your audacious dreams into remarkable achievements. Cheers to defying reality. See you on the next episode.